Hello, gorgeous ones. Welcome back to my podcast. So this week's episode is going to be slightly different, so get ready for that. This is the Mae B Mindful Podcast, and I am your host, Hannah Mae. I'm a mother of 6, spiritual growth facilitator, and certified hypnotist. This podcast is about inspiring hope, expanding awareness and consciousness in order to revolutionize the way we live and experience our lives. You can expect thought-provoking episodes each week spanning a range of topics, drawing from both my own journey of transformation and healing and working with others. I hope you find this podcast to be informative, refreshing, illuminating, and instrumental in your own soul's evolution and growth. Let's jump right in. Hello, friends. This is a little exercise that I felt inspired to walk you through and just see what comes forward actually in the moment. If you're feeling disconnected from yourself, if you're feeling you can't quite land in your body, and maybe there's some angst, maybe you have a little like that grind of anxiety, and you're just not feeling peaceful and you'd like to be. So it's always possible to come back into our bodies. Always, always, always. This is the starting point. This is our home, and we can really anchor into that with some tools. And then hopefully that can be more sustainable by remembering to check back in. Like once you have this checkpoint established for yourself, you can just check back in and touch base with that and see what's happening. So oftentimes when I work with people in hypnosis, depending on the way I'm working with someone, we might sometimes start by really connecting with themselves and the truth of who they are. And I do this through a guided, directed hypnosis session, and it's really beautiful. And I've never had anyone not love who they have met. Okay. And when you really meet yourself and you really come to connect with the truth of who you are, like you don't want to leave that part of you. You don't want to self-abandon anymore. You don't want to stay avoidant. And there's not a lot to stop you from coming back. So if we have a habit of self-abandoning or staying somewhat disassociated or just distracted, this can be really helpful. So we can start to pattern in a new way and start to get comfortable with the uncomfortable, because a lot of times we think that uncomfortable, the way that our nervous system perceives uncomfortable, is that it's bad, is dangerous, is not safe. And therefore our breath becomes shallow and then we become totally avoidant of the thing, when really we're actually needing to reframe this and see that this discomfort that we're having is possibly an opportunity. And if you're moving into anything new, if you're in any sort of like nervous system or soul expansion in your life, and the two are very much linked, then it's actually a really good thing. And it's all the more reason to be able to show up for yourself, to be able to really offer yourself some support and just hold the field of your being. So I'm just going to drop in a little tiny practice that you can do. I'm going to drop in some different words that have come forward for me as prayers, as affirmations, that can really be helpful in this stuff. So this episode is a little bit different, and it's really just how I'm feeling inspired to really just be of service today and not explain so much, but as to support you in having an experience. Okay. So when we have an experience, that thing trumps everything else. It trumps like what we think, our rational mind, what we think we're supposed to do, what we're believing, letting fear push us around and control us. And we know that we can enter back into an embodied state again. And so I've talked about this before, but whatever you're paying attention to, like wherever your attention goes, your energy flows. Whatever you're fixing your gaze on, you're going to be reflecting most likely back in your system. So even if you're in the midst of turmoil and chaos, that doesn't mean you have to fall into chaos and out of sorts yourself. Now, you can feel really easily pulled outside yourself, of course, but a lot of times if we just really get centered, anchored, and filled up in our own beings, like think of like filling up a glass or getting hydrated, then we're not going to feel a lack And we can move through those things much more neutrally. Now, if we are in some sort of a situation that's high stress or anything like that, we are going to need to also put in boundaries and a solid perimeter for ourselves to be able to make sure we get our needs met. And you might have to get creative with that. And I don't know what that's going to look different depending on the circumstance. But it's really important to be honest about that. Like, what are you subjecting yourself to? What are you choosing to subject yourself to? And what can you actually responsibly and honestly stay in the face of and walk through while staying really hooked up to grace and peace and presence, basically. And I know it's possible to have these shifts because I'll tell you why. Because I'm an empath, and because I used to get completely flooded and overwhelmed in certain social situations, actually almost all social situations. And I would start to embody that which I was noticing and feeling, because I'm usually just very perceptive. I immediately will feel, and any empath can tell you this, and they can usually relate. I mean, some empaths, I would say, even feel people's physical symptoms. I feel their feeling state and any sort of discord that might be going on in them, or if they have a lot of peace, like I'll immediately, my system is really porous to that stuff. So being that way my entire life, what used to be intolerable, and it's probably part of the reason why I developed an addiction or two or three, and because I didn't know how to stay present in my body for that. But what happened is, as a result of eliminating those irritants, those substances, those things that kept me distracted from myself, I had to learn how to really become more reliant, which is for me is God reliant, and really trusting myself to be able to enter into this space, to be able to access some of these tools, take care of myself. And this is real radical self-care. Okay. So I could just keep talking and talking forever, but I'm going to do a few things with you. By the way, don't do this if you're driving, please. Okay. Cause this could be very relaxing, and it does sort of require your attention. So I should just say that ahead of time. Just make sure you're able to be in a place where you're able to focus, please. So that's all. We're not going to go crazy with this, but just to be safe. Hey all, before we get started with this little exercise, I just wanted to let you know about a couple of really exciting opportunities that are coming up. First up, December 4th, I am teaching with my amazing friend Samantha Jackson, my go-to nutritionist, metabolism genius, Samantha Jackson. And we're going to be collaborating on that to set you up for the best holiday season ever, to help you really stay embodied, stay in your skin, stay in control, if you will, for lack of a better word, really to stay in agency and authority during this time, so you don't have to feel swept away or overcome by cravings or guilt or shame that comes up around the excessive nature of holidays and how we like to really distract from what's going on in us sometimes. So that's going to set you up for success. The other thing I wanted to let you know about was I have a new entry-level way to work with me, and I have opened up my calendar for a few spots for that for the end of the year and moving into the new year. And it is a direct suggestion hypnosis session with a recording included that you will get, that is going to be customized and tailored to the desired results that you are seeking. It's also a coaching session, and with that, I'm going to be including 7 days of Voxer access, where I can continue to coach you and answer questions for a solid week after, as you integrate this recording and this session that we did. This is a lower time and cost investment way to work with me, and it's pretty awesome. So check that out. I'll post the links below. So first of all, take a deep breath. Just notice your breath in your body. Is it shallow? Is it shaky? Is it smooth? Is it bumpy? Is it jumpy? Does it feel like you have a good capacity to take a nice, smooth, easy, expansive breath in? Or does it feel a little like squishy in there, a little limited? And whatever it is, it's okay. And so just breathe and notice. Notice the sensation that might come up in your body. So we have this really incredible ability to be able to go very deeply when we simply turn our attention off the things that are causing us to feel chaotic, and everything can calm down very quickly. It's incredible. And we don't do it because, I don't know, because we're just conditioned not to. And sometimes also there's things that feel uncomfortable in us. So having said that, notice what part of you, maybe there's a part of your being that has a hum or a buzz or a vibration or just a sensation on it. And maybe you don't know, and that's okay too. This is just something to be present with. So send a few more nice breaths. So just take a nice deep breath in through your nose, holding at the top, noticing what that breath is doing, how it's moving inside your being, and exhaling either out your nose or out your mouth for a nice slow count of 4, slightly longer than what you breathed in. So just do that a few more times and just be mindful. Notice what part of you might be speaking in some way. What is needing your attention? It might be clear what that part of you is. You might be clear immediately what the feeling is. I know that I cannot know what the feeling is until I really give it my attention. I just know it doesn't feel good until I actually focus. And it's sort of like locking eyes with a child, right? You get present and you go, oh, I see what's happening. I see what's happening here. And so for me, in this moment, I can get present with what's there, and there's a tenderness. And that part of us generally isn't going to be able to speak into that space until the space is provided. Because if you're staying so busy, then what's it going to talk to? It already is talking. It's talking in the way that it can to get your attention with however it's showing up, either by feeling that dis-ease, however it's manifesting. But just notice what part of you might be needing attention. Maybe it's a certain space in your body. Maybe it's a feeling that you can identify. Maybe it's as specific as an emotion, which is what's underneath the feeling. So the feeling is how it's showing up in your body. It's what it feels like. The emotion, it could be anything underneath that. So for me in this moment, I notice that there is a tenderness. There is a vulnerability. And so I can get curious about that. Sometimes if I'm feeling like I really can't kind of land in my being, and I've checked in with myself, and I'm feeling very pulled or stretched in a lot of directions, the feedback that I've gotten before is I don't feel safe. So I don't feel held. And so what is the antidote to whatever this need is that's speaking in you? Once you identify what this part of you is feeling, then you can properly meet that need. And so if something feels not safe, if something feels unsure, if you're feeling like really run down and like you need a break, if you're feeling like you need some time, whatever that is, then you are the one that's equipped. And now you have this knowledge because you've gotten this feedback to be able to meet that need. So if you're not used to meeting your own needs, then that's also something to get curious about. Like, well, what would make this feel better? That might look like a hand over your heart. It might look like an affirmation, like it's okay, I'm here, you're safe, all is well. And it also might feel weird to speak these words to yourself, but I highly encourage you to start opening up this kind of a dialogue with yourself because it will shift everything. Try it 3 times. I guarantee you will notice a shift. Not only that, but it will start to very quickly feel less weird, and it will start to become something that you actually really want to do. Because at the end of the day, nobody can communicate with yourself and your body the way you can, because you are the only one that is getting this type of feedback and signal, and it's designed for you. So you have the ability, you have the power to be able to shift this. Now, oftentimes, this can open up a deeper conversation, and there can be a deeper belief under that. There's a lot of really wonderful tools for processing this. Personally, I love writing. I love journaling. I've listened to some people say, oh, journaling's just a superficial tool. And then some people think it's everything. It really depends on the technique and the way you are utilizing this tool. So for me, ever since I was a little girl, I used writing as a way to, it was the only place I felt like I could really be honest and vulnerable. There was a space for it. I could share the little things in my heart, good, bad, or indifferent. And I don't really use it to speak about specific circumstances or problems. I really look to see what spirit wants to bring forward, because when I'm writing, I find that I'm a channel for a message to come through. So this has always been a really powerful tool for me in my own growth journey. And some people hate writing, so if you hate it, don't do it. But if you like it and you know it's helped you in the past, then it's something available for you. There's a lot of really cool directed ways to do this, different prompts. There's so many different cool techniques where you can really just glean so much insight and get so much good feedback. Now, I'll share one way with you. So one thing that I like to do is I like to just do a check-in. And I might have a conversation with that part of myself that we just connected with, that part of me that's feeling a little whatever. So whatever you identified. So you can just open up a dialogue with that part and you can write from that part's perspective. And this is really where you might be amazed and see what comes forward. You don't have to overthink it, just write what comes through. And you might be surprised what you find. So once I get the feedback and I get this information, I will actually write a letter and respond to this part. And also likewise channel what words come through and what wisdom comes through. This is really powerful, and it has a lot of resonance because you've made this separation. It's not identifying with that part that's feeling bad or that's experiencing some sort of disturbance or dis-ease, right? So you've made a clear distinction. You're no longer identifying and allowing this part to flood your system. You're sort of making a separation and you're having a dialogue. So this is just one tool that can be really helpful. So I wanted to share that. So sometimes our minds are really scattered and we really need a voice to guide us. And so this is where listening to a positive podcast can be helpful. Getting really good, recovered, healthy, spiritually sound, grounded words in your ears is going to contradict maybe what else is going on between your ears that's actually causing disease, because the thoughts that we have are really responsible for the way that we're feeling, the meaning that we're assigning things. So maybe you have a guided meditation you like to listen to. This is something that I actually create for people. I will create a direct suggestion recording based on what their needs are. It's just a really incredible tool to help them and hold that container for them. I love just being able to let it all go, not having to rely on me, keeping myself in check and in line and on task and focused. I love to be able to go to a class or have somebody else guide me or listen to a meditation that I really like. And sometimes I've even recorded my own because I know exactly what it is that I'm needing to hear and what I'm needing in that moment. And then I'll play that for myself. The other thing is the way that we set intention, the way that we start our day. And, I have a step 11 practice, which is in the 12 steps, it suggests prayer and meditation. So this is the way that I start my day every single day. When I don't do that, I wish I did, because, once our mind gets going, it can be off to the races sometimes. And, when we first wake up, we really want to capitalize on this slower brainwave state that we're in when our brain is oscillating in alpha waves for a little bit of time after we wake up. So immediately shifting and turning your thoughts and elevating your thoughts. This can also be a really awesome time right when you first wake up to pop something in your ears, like a little 5-minute meditation or 5 minutes of some sort of a guided meditation, or recorded affirmations, as long as they align with you. Sometimes affirmations can make you feel worse if they feel really not resonant. You want to make sure they're resonant, because sometimes with affirmations, they can make people feel worse. So if that happens for you, that's really normal. It just means you need to customize the affirmations so that they're actually acceptable to your subconscious. And there's a way to do that also. The reason for that is, and they've studied this, these affirmations sometimes make more apparent the gap of where we want to be and where we are. And so it can make us feel further away from our goal if the statements that we're saying don't have resonance in our being. If fundamentally there's an underlying belief that is in opposition to the affirmation that we're saying, then it's gonna actually bounce off and create more friction and make us feel worse. So you just have to sort of gauge that and see where you are with that. The other thing you could do is you could create a list of affirmations that do feel resonant and aligned for you, and record them and listen to them first thing in the morning, okay? First thing in the morning. Like literally, you open your eyes, do not get on social media. Don't do it. Don't start checking your emails. Don't get crazy. Stick your AirPod or whatever it is, or just press play on your phone. Even if it's just like 2 or 3 minutes of some like positive, high vibe statements that you're listening to, that you're dropping into your subconscious, your day is going to go different. I promise. One thing that really, came through for me not that long ago was certain wording that felt really resonant for my being and really powerful. And it was a prayer to my angel, and it was a prayer to my creator. So I sort of vacillate back and forth. So I put myself in the presence of God. The way that I put myself in the presence of God is simply by imagining myself in the presence of God. That is putting my attention on this power. So whatever you conceptualize or imagine this power to be, even if it's just like the sense or like a mist of divine love, whatever feels resonant or accessible for you, this is what you put your attention on. And this is what you put yourself in the presence of, and you will immediately begin to embody this. So what I was doing as I was moving into some growth work where I was stepping outside my comfort zone with something, and this was happening, and there was a lot of escalation. It felt like it was happening very quickly, and it felt really uncomfortable. And there were times where I felt unsafe in that. I started saying to my angel, please hold the field of my being. So I imagined, and I got a really clear visual with this. I got this big open space, and it was sort of like the outside in, but it was covered, so it was sheltered, and it was gold. And there were these pillars, like just as support, not a ton of them, but there were pillars. Like I could just really clearly see one. And there was an angel in my midst. And I said, please hold the field of my being, stand guard, and keep the parameter of my being so that I can continue to expand and know that I am held supported. And it was just this really powerful image that really came in at the right time. And when you take time to imagine, to visualize, to speak those words, then you are reinforcing that for yourself. And it's just the most incredible way to support yourself really on your walk in whatever you're moving into. So if you're on a seeking journey, if you're really moving into this nervous system and spiritual expansion that I mentioned, if you're in any sort of phase of healing, if you are, whatever it is that you're doing, this is an incredible way to provide security and support for yourself. Obviously, we also want to connect with other fellows, like-minded people who are hopefully on the same path, who offer the light of hope, or who we can seek counsel from, whether it's a professional that you trust that is guiding you, whether it's a friend you can be honest with, whether it's a group, like say, for example, 12-step or any kind of support group, whether it's at your church, whoever it is that you're going to share to. The only thing I'll say is just make sure it feels like consciously aligned for you. If there's a part of you that's like wanting their approval or validation, it might not be safe to be vulnerable with them because you might be overextending your need. Does that make sense? these people are not there to fix you. They're there to hear you and hold space for you and support you. They don't save you. They don't rescue you. It's like we simply all hold hands on this journey. So if somebody can do that non-judgmentally, neutrally, and with kindness and love and acceptance and just hear you, hopefully without offering a bunch of unsolicited advice, unless you want the advice, that's the kind of person that you want to be able to share with. So I hope this episode was helpful. I hope it gave you, or at least inspired, some ideas of tools. Like what works for me may not work for you, but I have a plethora of these things because they're things that I use to really support myself daily in my walk and how I serve and how I help other people. So have an awesome week. Open to feedback. Love you guys. Thank you for tuning in to the Mae B Mindful Podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. Your feedback helps us grow and improve. For more information, resources, and exclusive content, visit our website at maybemindful.com or go ahead and follow us over on Instagram at maybemindful. If you enjoyed this week's episode, please give me a follow, screenshot the episode, and go ahead and tag me until next week when I bring you another thought-provoking and inspiring topic. Until then,